Good evening. Let's think back to the last election. Who did you vote for? Or if you couldn't vote, who would you have voted for? Think about this for a second. Were you satisfied with who you voted for? And if not, why weren't you satisfied? Many people I know here at Liberty and other places were not satisfied with who they voted for. In fact, they felt like they were forced to vote for someone they disliked the least. There is a problem in today's culture that I see in the two-party system we have for government. This is a problem for two reasons. First, it forces people to vote for a candidate they do not support. Second, it gives them no other options to vote for a candidate who they would support. Today I wanted to show you that we can solve this problem. First, by changing the minds of Americans, and second, by eliminating this mentality of the Democrat-Republican voting system. I believe parties should be a direct representation of what people want, and furthermore, I believe we should choose parties who match up with our own belief systems. In this speech, I wanted to bring in the problem of the two-party mentality, show you how to change this mentality, and show you what it will look like in the future if we change this mentality. But now for the problem. Essentially, the problem with a two-party government system resides, or at least in our two-party government system, resides with our misrepresentation of the people. According to Dayton McKeon, in his book Party and Pressure Politics, the Founding Fathers actually despised political parties. George Washington said that parties were the enemies of popular government, and also Alexander Hamilton said the same thing. Even so, many people would say that parties are not a bad thing. And I would agree. I think that politics runs smoother with parties. I believe it's a lot easier to vote between two people rather than voting between 20 candidates. And also, according to Amy Black in her book Beyond Left and Right, groups of people can do more than individuals. A whole party can do more than just one candidate. But looking at the two-party political system, I think there are three problems that have to be addressed. First, there's a problem with the parties themselves. I think that the parties of today have put themselves before the need of the people. And in doing this, or the reason they did this was because they are more concerned about getting elected than they are about representing the people they are supposed to represent. And in that, they're not fulfilling their position that was given to them by the people. But in addition to there being a problem with the parties, I believe there's a problem with the people too. I think honestly we follow these parties blindly. For instance, in this room, we are more concerned about a Republican getting elected more than a candidate who we support getting elected. And honestly, this is because I think we have no other option. But the third problem I think there is with the two-party system is that when you combine the problems of the political parties and the people, it comes out that we blindly support this government system and we don't acknowledge the fact that we have the power to change it. And I believe there's a cause for this problem, and it resides in the history of our Democrat and Republican system. Throughout the years, no one has gone against the system, and I think many people think that if we did go against the system, it wouldn't work. Not only that, but I believe no one knows how to go against the system, and some people might even think that if we did, there was no chance we could even change it. There's also effects of the problem too in today's culture. You can see that if the government continues to go the way it is going, people will continually be divided the way they are right now, and that's according to Stanley Greenberg in his book The Two Americas. But also, parties will only gain more power and seek to be elected even more in the future. But now that we've talked about the problem, let's talk about a solution to this problem. And honestly, straight up, I think the first solution to this problem is that the minds of the American people have to be changed. And someone asks, well, what would you change them to? How would we change them? And we first have to understand that parties, political parties, are created for us, not the opposite way around. We, the people, are to govern, not the parties. That's the easy part. Saying that's the easy part. But with that involves action, and that's the harder part. Think back to my question earlier about who you voted for. No one wants to choose between two candidates they don't support. Instead, people want an option that's going to suit them and their own idea system. But in order to have that option, we as the people must speak up. We must say something. As Americans, we must begin supporting ideas rather than parties. That might mean supporting the current political parties. That might mean supporting new political parties. But either way, our ideas should shape the country rather than the political parties' ideas shaping the country. Rather than the Democrats or the Republicans shaping the country, we should shape the country. But in all, the solution comes down to you and me. We must stop giving full support to parties who don't fully support us. And we must convince others to do the same. But you would ask, will this solve the problem? And I would say that movements, for the most part, start small and slow. But as they catch on, they can change the course of the country. And we've seen that in the past. And I believe this could be one of those movements. But it involves us sharing ideas with other people around us and sharing this idea and spreading this idea so other people understand that we should stop following these parties blindly. Now that we've talked about the problem, let's talk about what our future will look like if we do embrace this mentality or if we don't embrace this mentality. If people are convinced about this idea and they decide to change, then I believe the views of the majority of the country will be represented. Instead of political parties forming their own beliefs and we following them, it'll be switched and we will have our beliefs and it will be forced to form to us. But if we do not embrace the idea, I think the current division we have of the American people and of the government will continue. Parties will be the focus of politics instead of us, the people. And in turn, people will continue allowing parties to think for them instead of us thinking for the parties. But in conclusion, as I've already talked about, there's a problem with the American two-party government system. They operate for themselves, and in turn the people who they're supposed to be representing are misrepresented. And the solution to this problem is that you and I change both our minds and the minds of other people. And honestly, we need to start beginning to start supporting ideas rather than supporting these parties. And we need to convince others of this idea as well. I believe if people change their thinking towards parties, government will be forced to reshape itself for the people. And right now, I just want to encourage you guys, rethink your own position. If you see yourself as someone who is part of this, who blindly follows a political party instead of having your own ideas and trying to fit them into your own party, I would encourage you to rethink, and also I would encourage you to convince others to rethink their position. People, as I've already said, people should have their own beliefs, and in turn they should choose a party that represents those beliefs. But I think that if we're able to change our own thinking, we can rid ourselves of the self-serving political parties we have today, and we can put the emphasis back on our own political beliefs where it should be right now. Thank you.